Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Webtoon Book. Today's episode is The Girl from Class. This is a pretty short story, so this won't be too long. Our story starts with our main character who's basically talking about how he has a crush on the girl in his class, but he can't build up the courage to actually talk to her. Eventually, opportunity comes along where they are assigned a group project, or at least they just need or at least a project where they need to do it with another partner. So he finds this as his opportunity to try and get to be around her more and ask her if she wants to do the project with him. She agrees, so they do get to be around each other more. And that goes well for a time. But eventually, she does start to ghost him and giving some pretty weak excuses to why she's not able to make it to their planned meetings. Him being a hopeless romantic kind of just accepts this, but he does start to have a little bit of his suspicions. But later on, he eventually finds out that she actually has a boyfriend, and finds out through basically eavesdropping, more or less, and hearing from others that she was just simply using him. She had actually no interest in him. She thinks he's just a loser. But she was willing to work with him on the project because she thought that she could get him to basically do the whole project for her. She didn't have to do anything. And that's exactly what ended up happening. So, of course, he feels absolutely betrayed and starts to sorrow in his own sadness. And his lady friend, is how I'll put it, who has actually been kind of supportive of him throughout the whole story, or at least here and there through the little we actually see her, finally confronts him and just basically tells him out of how much of a sad sack he is. and leading pretty heavily that she's had a crush on him the entire time. And he continues to act completely clueless to this. So she gets fed up and just outright tells him how pathetic he is. And kind of just leaves. And I think she even moves away or something like that. Yoke. And him finding out a little too late that what he missed out on, tries to get her attention again by joining the school newspaper and coming up with with a little comic to pretty much show how much of a pathetic loser that he is and that he regrets his decision, which is implied that it is the story that we have been reading the entire time. But we don't get to see where this ends up going, as that is where the story ends. It is not a very long story. It is very, very short. It's a very quick read. The art is very simplistic. Like, it is literally pencil draw. It is simple lines and character outlines and environments. It's all completely in black and white, which just implies it was basically a pen inked the paper, and that was it, giving a very rough imagery of what we're seeing. And I think it's very good, and for what it fits the environment very well. It's a good story. It is a good read, and it is very interesting. You do feel for the guy, but you also feel for the female character who's just like, you're an idiot, and I can't make this any more clear to you. It's a very interesting story. It is also one of the oldest stories on Webtoon. But with that, that's really all I have to say about this story. But I'm not done yet, as there's something else I wanted to add. If any of you have ever looked in the description, you may have noticed through the links that I, of course, will link the story. So you can go onto the website and read it, but of course, the best way to be able to read these stories is by reading it off of the app. Mainly because, especially for those behind, well, what was Daily Pass and now it's just locked behind ads, you have to read those on mobile because they're not available on computer. But if you look at those links, you may notice that the links themselves are all exactly the same address, with the only difference being at the end, which is represented by a number. And I curiously decided to go through and see what the earliest one is, the lowest number. Because there are some that are double digits, triple digits, and 4 digits. So it's not just like some consistency. It is seemingly labeled from 1 to whatever, to infinity. And I found there is no 1 to 61. That address from 1 to 61 does not exist. But there is a 62. Which the only thing I can take from that, as I am slightly aware that Webtoon does remove some comics for certain reasons. Why, I don't know. There are comics I've had listed to read, and they are no longer there. My guess is due to a lack of popularity or awareness to them. Because there are a few stories, like the Cliff, as I've said in that video before, where that was essentially unlisted. You could not find it in the complete section. You could not find it in your subscription list. But you could search it and find it that way. Which very much just tells me if certain stories have such little attention, they'll probably just remove them. I don't know the complete parameters of that, but that's all I can guess on. So my guess is there was a 1 through 61, but those stories were eventually removed, and they didn't reinsert the addresses to anything else, and they probably never will. But just a little thing that I caught. But with that, that ends this. So, vote on which story you would like me to read next through the list of stories in the description. Vote for it in the comments, and I will see you all next time.